So today, a little extra video about cutouts. So what I'm talking about, you can see on the template here, I've marked the cutout. So when I traced the outline of the guitar onto the Perspex template, as you saw in one of the early videos, I also traced on the cutout part, and you can use that cutout part to do an extra bit for the mould. So take this in exactly the same way. We can trace another bit of Perspex onto that and use that as a template to cut out a new bit for the mould, and that's what I've got here. So again, what you can see, I did exactly what I did last time. Use the template to make another template. Use that template to make some of these. So this is your 18mm ply, exactly the same as you made the rest of the mould with. And again, I've attached two together and then put that through the bandsaw and also on a sander, and also the drum sander, just as we did before, to make this extra little insert. And the idea is that this insert is going to go in the guitar. Let's get it the right way around, like that. Okay, so that gives you your cutout. So you make sure all these things nice and smooth and all fit together. Now the other thing I've done is marked a line here on the guitar, on the mould for the guitar, where this thing ends, because this is really not very easy to do. When you've got a cutout, you have to remember that the neck now has to line up exactly with the edge of the guitar. And that's not as easy to do as you might think. You might even have to change the width of the guitar neck if you get it a little bit wrong. So very, very accurately measure half the width of your neck, and then you make sure that when you attach this, it lines up exactly with that mark, and that'll give you a fairly good fighting chance that it'll work. Now remember, the wood that you put in, when you bend the wood and put it in, it's going to go up to here, and then the wood from the other side is going to come across to meet it. So make sure on the other side you leave a little bit extra sticking out so that it meets. But the wood here will end there, and then you've got a right angle bend. Okay, so the next thing to do, take this, and we're going to do exactly what we did with the rest of it, and we're going to take these apart, and we're going to get some 75mm blocks, put them in between, and it's just like making another little mini mould. So that's what I'll do next. So here we are on the flat bench. Now these are 75mm blocks. They're just 20 by 50mm roofing slats, roofing battens actually. So I've cut them exactly to the size that I need. I've checked them against the other mould, the main mould, and they fit in perfectly, so they're exactly the right size. And all I'm going to do, exactly as we did last time, I'll take these two apart now. There we go. And all I'm going to do is glue these on such that I can get the shape. Now remember, the shape that I'm trying to get mostly is this inside shape here. This is where the guitar's going to be, so you can just mess about with these, put them on in various different ways where I can trim them off. And don't forget, you can trim these off anyhow. Looks about right. And then we'll glue those on. There we go. Again, I'm using the aliphatic resin glue. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you've got a few gaps and things in it. So make sure that goes over the edge, because it's only a rough shape. As you put the bent wood in, it won't be able to go into all the tiny little gaps. It'll just kind of bend and fit the general shape. So more of that steep bit of the bend. Okay, and finally I'll leave that to dry, and what I'll do is just go around it with, just to make sure everything is nice and square. Okay, that's good. Now I'll leave that to dry, and then I'll stick the lid on. So this is dried now. The one piece of the next bit is to stick the top on. So let's have a look at that. Now obviously the difficult part in this is getting it lined up, because you could stick it at a funny angle. So what I do, well, first of all, this is the actual mould. I'm going to test it against the mould and make sure that it's the right depth, which it is. So that's useful. So next thing, let's shift that out of the way. So now what I'll do is I'll glue it in place. I'll get my trusty set square, and then we'll be able to line it up as we go, bit by bit, find out where it fits. And you can get the set square in the bits in between these, in between the gaps, look. So for instance, there I've got one, there I've got a gap, so that needs turning to there, and so on. And I can just do it. And once I've got that in the right place, what I'll do is I'll draw a pencil line around so that it lines up. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit of messing about. Getting close there. Right, that's it. So then we get the pencil. Here's one I prepared earlier. Draw around it, and that'll give me a good start of where I need to fix it in. So then get some glue, last bit in the bottle. It goes on inside the lines. Pop the lid on like that, line it up with all the various lines we've just drawn, a good press down, and then I'll just go around it again, double check that it's all lined up. Which it is. Okay, good. Now we'll leave that to dry. So now the glue's dry all the way around on those, all I need to do is now take a plane and just plane down all these bits, and the inner one I'm going to have to do with a bit of a rasp and just clean it up. So that's what I'm going to do next. So now we're at a point where this is done. So I've smoothed this off, did it with a plane for most of it, and then got it on a bit of a sander as well. So this is now relatively done. Doesn't need to be perfect, there can be gaps and holes. As long as it follows the curve, then you're okay. And what we're going to do is attach it to here. Now, I'll bring you down a bit there. What we're going to do is attach it in here. Remember, we drew the line on here to show us exactly where to put it. Now, the reason we're doing it separately, obviously, I think I've said this before, but if we attach it with just a couple of screws, then we know I can take that off and I can use that mould again for a normal guitar, and then I can put it back in again and do a guitar with a cutout, so I can use the mould for both. So I'm going to use some long screws, and what I'm going to do, drill holes from the outside in, and that way I've not got any screw heads which could interfere on the guitar side, so I won't scratch the wood or anything like that. So first thing, I'm going to drill a couple of holes through, straight down the middle. That one there. One here, so I'll just drill them straight through some of the blocks, and then I can get some screws, my screwdriver, get in there, a couple of long screws through there, turn it right, do, hold this in place, put the screws in, making sure that lines up exactly with where we need it to, which is just there. one guitar with a cutout shape, all lining up. So that's ready to go. Now we can start thinking about bending the sides. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. Either way, I might see you next time.